بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمد ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. A new story emerges from an old one. We were talking about Mu'adh bin Jabal Radhi-Allahu anhu, and the name of Abdullah bin Salaam Radhi-Allahu anhu came up when we were talking about his death and some of the wasiyat that he gave to his students about who to go to seek knowledge from. And from there, we decided we would talk about Abdullah bin Salaam, because he was one of the people who Mu'adh bin Jabal Radhi-Allahu anhu had given wasiyat about, that if you want to seek knowledge after I leave this world, then go to 4 people. One of those people is Ashiru Ashrin fil Jannah, the 10th of the 10 who will be entering to Jannah, and that is Abdullah bin Salaam Radhi-Allahu anhu. I like to dig into the origins and the history of the roots of the Sahaba, so we understand the background before we go into the life of the Sahabi himself. That way, we get a better understanding of an appreciation of their sacrifices. And we find that regarding Abdullah bin Salaam Radhi-Allahu anhu, knowing his roots is even more important. Because unlike other Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajmain who had families in Medina Munawwara or in Makkah Mukarramah, Abdullah bin Salaam Radhi-Allahu anhu had a family inside Medina Munawwara, but the problem was that they were all exiled by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His whole tribe was exiled. So he was left all alone with the few people that stayed with him and who had accepted Islam in Medina Munawwara. Everyone else had been exiled from Medina Munawwara. So he had no family left. He was all alone and on his own. In a way, kind of excommunicated from his own community, who said that we don't want anything to do with you. And they denounced him completely. And he made that big sacrifice only for the sake of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's very hard to break away from family. Right? You have to have very strong conviction in what you believe in to desert, to abandon, to forsake your whole family, your mother, your father, your children, your elders, your whole childhood, everything. So Abdullah bin Salaam Radhi-Allahu anhu is alone in that regard. I mean, there are other Sahaba, but very few of them. The Muhajirun still had their tribes in Makkah Mukarramah, right? The Ansar Sahaba, of course, had their tribes in Medina Munawwara. They had their family there. There was very few of them who didn't have that family support. Most of whom accepted Islam at the end. Muhajirun, they accepted Islam at the end. The tribes Quraysh didn't accept Islam in the beginning, but they did accept Islam in the conquest of Makkah Mukarramah. The Ansar, Banu Aus, Banu Khazraj, almost all of them accepted Islam within the 3-4 years after the Hijrah. But in his tribe, 5 people accepted Islam at the most. Everybody else was exiled. And this, according to the historical narrations, wherever they went, they soon died off. So it was a big sacrifice on his part. So we're going to go into a little bit of the history of his roots and his tribe, inshallah. And then we'll start talking about the life of Abdullah bin Salaam himself, inshallah. Just a little brief bio. His name is Abdullah bin Salaam, and I had mentioned yesterday that there's some riwayas that mention Abdullah bin Salam. Salam was a very common name amongst the Yahud in that time. Salam. There was a very famous tribal chief from the Yahud tribes in Medina Munawwara. His name was Salam ibn Mishkam. Salam ibn Mishkam. So it's likely that Abdullah bin Salaam Radhi-Allahu anhu's name was Abdullah bin Salam, but through continuous use by the Arabs, that is the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajmain, it became Abdullah bin Salaam. Also, his name was not Abdullah. His name was Hussein, not with the sin, with the sad. Hussein. It could have been Hassin, I don't know. But it seems like it was Hussein, which was a common name amongst the Arabs and the Yahud in that time. And when he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam changed his name from Hussein bin Salam to Abdullah bin Salam. He's from the tribe of Banu Qaynuqa. So there's three major Yahud tribes in Medina Munawwara. There were three major Yahud tribes in Medina Munawwara when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina Munawwara. Tribe number 1, Banu Nadir. Tribe number 2, Banu Qurayza. Tribe number 3, Banu Qaynuqa. These were the three major Yahud tribes. There were other Yahud tribes in Arabia, but there was only 3 of them in Medina Munawwara. Now, these tribes had many different smaller clans, and those clans would have an ally with another clan within the Arab tribes of Banu Aus and Banu Khazraj. So, like Quraysh has many clans. Banu Hashim, Banu Asad, Banu Tiyam, Banu Adi. There's many different clans that make up the whole of Quraysh. There's many different clans that made up Banu Qaynuqa. There's many different clans that made up Banu Nadir. There were a lot of people, but there were small little families that they had amongst them as well. The aggregate of those clans was Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza, Banu Qaynuqa. So there were clans within Banu Nadir, Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Qurayza that had hilf. Hilf means they were allies with specific clans amongst the Arabs from Banu Aus and Banu Khazraj, because they lived in Medina Munawwara, so all their allies were from the Ansar, from Banu Aus and Banu Khazraj. The reason I'm mentioning this is we need to know this when it comes up later on. It will come up later on. Abdullah bin Salam was one of the ahbar. Ahbar means he was one of the rabbis, but he wasn't the rabbis of all the Yahud in Medina Munawwara. He was only the rabbi of his own tribe. There's other tribes that had different rabbis, ahbar. Right? Ahbar is actually plural, it's hibr, and then ahbar. So he was one of the main rabbis of his tribe, but there was another one who was very, very well known in our history. We don't know so much about him if you haven't read the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in detail. His name was Labid ibn al-A'sam. Labid ibn al-A'sam was the man, he was a rabbi, and he used to practice black magic. And he was an ally of a tribe from Banu Khazraj known as Banu Zurayq. Banu Zurayq. So he's known as Zuraqi. Labid ibn Asim is known as Labid ibn Asim al-Zuraqi. Some even call him al-Ansari, because he was a munafiq who apparently accepted Islam. He was also one of the rabbis who outwardly had accepted Islam, but he was actually a munafiq. And he was sitting in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gathering. So you will see some riwayas calling him Ansari, some riwayas calling him Yahud, and you wonder how could he be Yahud and be Ansari at the same time? Because the Ansar were all from Yemen originally, and the Yahud are not from Yemen originally. But if they had tribal alliances with each other, then they took their names as well. So he could be Yahudi, but since he had an alliance, his clan had an alliance with another tribe from the Arabs, he would take their nisbat. So even Abdullah bin Salam, Banu Qaynuqa, his tribe was Yahud, but they had an alliance with the Khazraj tribe. So they were known as Al-Khazraji, Al-Ansari, even though he's not really Al-Ansari. He's not really from Banu Khazraj. They were their own tribe. They're from Bani Israel. Banu Khazraj, Banu Aus have nothing to do with Bani Israel. So, from these three tribes, going back to the main point, from these three tribes of the Yahud in Medina Munawwara, Banu Qaynuqa was considered the most afdal, the most respected of all the three tribes of the Yahud. And the reason is that Banu Qaynuqa was known to be the progeny, the children of Yusuf ibn Yaqub alayhim salatu wassalam. So they were the children of Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, which means Abdullah bin Salam Radhi-Allahu anhu was from the children of that. He was from the children of, he was from the offspring of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. So that's why his kunya is Abu Yusuf. His kunya is Abu Yusuf. And he had two sons who were the main narrators of his hadith. He named one of them after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, so his name is Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Salam. And the other one he named after his great-great-grandfather, Yusuf. His name is Yusuf ibn Abdullah bin Salam. So anyhow, his kunya is Abu Yusuf, his original name is Hussein, and his lineage goes like this: Abdullah bin Salam ibn al-Harith al-Khazraji. Khazraj, he's not from Khazraj, but because his tribe had an alliance with Khazraj, he'd be known as Khazraj. By the way, this is important for us to remember that his tribe had an alliance with Khazraj. And do you know which tribe, which clan from Khazraj they had a connection with, an alliance with? Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Sulul, the chief of the hypocrites. He was Banu Qaynuqa's main ally. An ally doesn't mean, as we use this word in times of war, you have the allied forces. It's not in that sense. Allies basically means like now he's your family. You even take their name. You support each other in war against the enemy, right? And if somebody gets killed, if somebody from one of your allies kills someone and they have to pay blood money for them, then you also have to help them in paying that blood money. It became like a family. If somebody gets killed from this family, then the ally even receives a share, right? A halif receives a share of that blood money as well. Right? And you became family, so he became Khazraji. This is all from Al-Isti'ab, but there's other books on the biography of Sahaba Radwan Ajma'in that mention pretty much the same thing. Now, as I was saying, his tribe of Banu Qaynuqa was the most respected of all the three tribes amongst the Yahud. What do we know about Banu Qaynuqa? وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ زَرْعٌ وَلَا نَخْلٌ. The other two tribes of Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza, they had groves of date palm trees. So they used to do farming and cultivating, right? You'll read in the narrations about Ali Radhi-Allahu anhu once passed by a hitan, which is like a garden that's covered with a wall, and he saw there was a hole in the middle. He looked through and there was a Yahud sitting inside. He was the owner of that garden. And the Yahud looked at him and he said, "Would you like to work for me?" And Ali Radhi-Allahu anhu was very, very hungry and starving at that time, and he said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, you pull 1 bucket of water for me from the well, and I'll give you 1 date." Which is pretty stingy, to be honest, but I mean, what do you expect? So 1 bucket of water, you get 1 date. That Yahud was not from Banu Qaynuqa. He was either from Banu Nadir or he was from Banu Qurayza, because they were the ones who were the farmers, the cultivators, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that in Quran, that when in the 5th year of Hijri, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam laid siege to Banu Qurayza, what did he do? He took their groves of date palms and he cut them, and some of them were burned down. Banu Qaynuqa, didn't have farms, didn't have fields. لم يكن لهم زرع, didn't have fields, ولا نخل, they had no groves of date palms. وإنما كانوا تجارا, they were businessmen. They only had a lot of money. They were businessmen. وصاغة, they were manufacturers. They made stuff, goods. They were the ironsmith, they were the blacksmith, they were the goldsmith, they were every smith. Right? They were the main producers of all the different equipment that was required for pulling out water from the wells, right? And the different equipment that was needed for farming and cultivating and all that, they were the makers of it. So everybody needed them and depended on them for the economy of Medina Munawwara, which made them very, very powerful. Right? يَعْمَلُونَ بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ. They used to work with their money. They were also, of course, if they were tujar, it means also they used to use their money to make money, which means that they used to deal in interest, usury. So this was a very powerful tribe, a very wealthy tribe, and a tribe that everybody else needed. That's why you'll see later on as we go on with these sessions about Abdullah bin Salam Radhi-Allahu anhu, that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Medina Munawwara, the first thing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did was he reached out to all the different Yahud tribes and he initiated pacts with them, deals with them, promises. But the first one to break their pact with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Banu Qaynuqa, and the way they broke it just tells you their character. Because they thought we're powerful, we're big, we can do whatever we want. Who's he to tell us what to do? Right? When you do something wrong, you apologize. They did something wrong. They were openly defiant about it. So what? We broke our pact. So what? What are you going to do? That was their attitude. But it tells you why they were like that. Right? There was a very famous man. His name was Amr ibn Su'ada. He was considered one of the holy men amongst the Yahud. In the 4th year of Hijri, after Banu Qaynuqa, the tribe of Abdullah bin Salam had already been exiled out of Medina Munawwara. And Banu Nadir had also been exiled. So 2 major Yahud tribes had already been exiled. And Ka'b bin Ashraf, who was one of the main leaders of the Yahud, one of the most powerful men, was already killed. So this Amr ibn Sa'ada, he went to those places that were formerly occupied by Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, just to see what had happened to them. And he saw that they were completely, abandoned. Like a whole neighborhood that was completely abandoned. And he felt so sad and so depressed. So he came back. And this was a time when Banu Qurayza was still there. The 3rd tribe was still there. But they were also deciding to break their pact. So he came to them and he said, listen, I just came back from Banu Qaynuqa's neighborhood. I came back from Banu Nadir's neighborhood, and they're all empty. They're all abandoned. And I've learned a lesson from it. And the lesson is that when you don't believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to turn against you. Because we were the most powerful. And look at what's happened to us. He's completely cleared us out. We know he's a Nabi of Allah. We should just accept him. So there's 2 people. One's name was Zubayr ibn Bata, and the other one's name was Ka'b. I don't know his full name. Ka'b and Zubayr ibn Bata. They were the 2 leaders of Banu Nadir. So they started discussing with each other what they should do. So Zubayr ibn Bata says to Ka'b that, why don't you believe, Ka'b? So he says, well, why don't you believe? He says, I'm waiting for you. So they're having this discussion, and after they're done, Amr ibn Sarda, he says to them, this is what he says about Banu Qaynuqa. He says, أوقع ببني قينقاع. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took over Banu Qaynuqa and he destroyed them, flattened them out, meaning that he completely removed them from the city, uprooted them. فأجلاهم. وهم جد يهود, and they are the grandfathers of the Yahud, the elders of the Yahud, meaning all the other tribes looked up to them. Right? وَكَانُوا أَهْلَ عِدَّةٍ وَسِلَاحٍ وَنَجْدَةٍ. They had the most number of people in their tribe, وَسَلَاحٍ, and because they were manufacturers, so they also used to make their own weapons. They used to sell weapons, shields and armor and swords. But obviously if they were selling it, how much did they have for themselves? Right? وَنَجْدَةٍ. And these are people of respect, people of support who are there in times of help and support. And now even they've been removed, they've been uprooted completely. You shouldn't be sitting here discussing about this, just accept him. So they start discussing further. Should we not? Should we not? Finally, Amr ibn Sa'da says, they turned to him, they said, why don't you accept then? He says, ما طابت نفسي أن أكون تابعا. I don't want to be a follower. It doesn't please me to be a follower of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are the leaders, we should remain the leaders. Yahud were considered the leaders, the Ahl Kitab, people of knowledge. Now you want me to be a follower of one of the people of the Arab who are ummis, illiterate people? He's giving all this advice himself, and then he himself says this. So you see why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cursed them in the Quran al-Kareem. Anyhow, so this is Banu Qaynuqa. There's one more thing I need to tell you about Banu Qaynuqa. So Banu Qaynuqa, what we've learned about them so far is that they're very, very powerful. And the economy of Medina Munawwara heavily depended on them, which made them extremely arrogant. Right? Extremely arrogant, extremely defiant. And they thought that they were impregnable. Nobody could touch them, nobody could beat them, nobody could outdo them. Right? So you're going to hear a discussion, a dialogue that takes place between them and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they respond to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But here's one more thing we need to mention about Banu Qaynuqa to understand the life of Abdullah bin Salam better. Radhi-Allahu anhu. Banu Qaynuqa had a massive souq, bazaar, outside of Medina Munawwara. Massive bazaar. It was known as Suqu Bani Qaynuqa. Suqu Banu Qaynuqa. The bazaar of Banu Qaynuqa. And it had been there for centuries. And everybody went there who wanted to do business. Whether it was with the Yahud or just to do regular business. In fact, we read in the hadith of Bukhari about Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu. Where did he start making his money? He went to Suq Bani Qaynuqa. When his akhu from the Ansar asked him, I think it was Sa'd bin Rabi radiallahu anhu, who asked him, he didn't ask him, he offered him that I'll give you half my wealth, half my property, right? He said, no, barakallahu laka fi ahlik wa malik. May Allah put barakah in your family, barakah in your wealth. Aina suqukum, where is your bazaar? Your Amazon. Huh? Where's your Amazon? You can't even say mall anymore. Malls are dying, right? So they showed him the way to Banu Qaynuqa. He went to Banu Qaynuqa, the bazaar of Banu Qaynuqa. He came back and he had a little bit of aqit wa saman, some butter and some cheese that he made out of profit, and he sold that, and that's how he then got married and had a walima. Right? That's where he started his whole business, in Banu Qaynuqa. It's mentioned about Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. He was once sitting on a mimbar, this during his khilafah. He said, I used to buy tamar, dates, wholesale from Banu Qaynuqa in their bazaar. And then I would bring it to Medina Munawwara, and then I would sell it wholesale in Medina Munawwara. But when I used to buy it, I used to measure it, weigh it. They used to buy and sell dates by weighing them, kale. So he said, I used to buy it, I used to do the kale. But when I used to bring it and present it to the people who bought it from me, I would sell it at whatever price I wanted, and I would tell them it's this much. The weight is this much. And they would just take it from me like that. When Rasulullah ﷺ found out that Uthman Radhi-Allahu anhu takes dates and he weighs them and then he pays them, but when he comes to Medina Munawwara, he doesn't get it weighed, or the buyers don't weigh it from him, they just give him whatever he asks for. He said no. Rasulullah ﷺ said, when you take it, you should get it weighed and pay them. And when you bring it here, have the buyers weigh it, and then whatever price you agree on, you can sell it and they can buy it. But it has to be weighed both times. It shouldn't be just on, accepting on your word that, it's this much and I'm going to charge this much. No, let them weigh it. So Rasulullah ﷺ said to him, Ya Uthman, إِذَا ابْتَعَتَ فَاقْتُلْ وَإِذَا بِعْتَ فَكِلْ. When you buy, you should weigh it. When you sell it, you should weigh it. Anyhow, he says, كُنْتُ أَشْتَرِ التَّمْرَ مِنْ سُوقِ بَنِي قَيْنُقَاعٍ. When I used to buy the tamr, I used to buy it from the bazaar of Banu Qaynuqa'. Also, many of the major events that took place in the history of Medina Munawwara and Jahiliyyah, a lot of them took place in Banu Qaynuqa'. There was a famous battle that took place in between Banu Aus and Banu Khazraj. It was known as Harbu Sumayr. That battle started in Banu Qaynuqa', the bazaar of Banu Qaynuqa'. So Banu Qaynuqa' was a very powerful tribe. They had a complete hold over the economy. They have a very strong presence in the history of Yathrib, Medina Munawwara, right? There was no chance that it would even cross the mind of any person that Banu Qaynuqa' could ever be uprooted from Yathrib. They were one of the oldest tribes, one of the most respected tribes, one of the most powerful tribes economically. They had a bazaar that was like the Amazon. Can you imagine Amazon just disappearing from internet? No more Amazon. Like somebody tells you Amazon is going to be gone tomorrow. Rasulullah ﷺ just completely uprooted them. So this was the tribe of Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu. You see what a big sacrifice it must have been for Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu? When he had everything going for him, a tribe that's respected, that's powerful economically, right, has a great hold over the people of Yathrib, even the hold of the other Yahud tribes who all respected them. Right? It could only be out of his personal conviction and his love for the truth and love for haqq that he would put all that aside and away to accept Islam. You have a weak tribe, it's not as hard to bring a change in your life and go against your tribe. But when your tribe is the most powerful, right, the most wealthy, and you're going to lose their support, physically you're going to lose their support, and economically you're going to lose their support. They will not help you financially anymore. Even they will desert you completely. They will denounce you. They want nothing to do with you. Right? That was a big step by Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu to accept Islam. Just imagine someone here in the United States, right, who has a big family, right, who accepts Islam. Somebody from the Rothschilds, let's say the Rothschild family is a massive family. They've got over $350 billion, maybe even more, right? Imagine one of their big guys accepts Islam and just becomes a waliullah right? That's something we wouldn't be able to imagine. When you have everything going for you and you have all this money and you have this big family, your whole dunya is made out for you. And then you leave all that for the sake of this, for the sake of truth. This is what Abdullah bin Salam Radhi-Allahu anhu did. Inshallah, from tomorrow, we will start talking more about Abdullah bin Salam Radhi-Allahu anhu and how he accepted Islam. Inshallah. I do want to say one or two things about his children, his two sons, who are the main narrators of his ahadith. And then after that, we'll talk about Abdullah bin Salam Radhi-Allahu anhu and how he accepted Islam. جزاكم الله خير أحسن جزاء سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.